Dungeon Master, Game Master, Keeper, Storyteller, Lore Master, Referee. There are various names given to the person running your tabletop role-playing game. You're entitled to your preference, but are they actually players or something else? That's the question we're going to explore in this video. Before we get started, I just wanted to thank my current patrons. If you'd like to support my opinion giving financially, which helps me make more videos at a higher quality, the link to my Patreon page can be found in the description box. You'll get access to any battle maps I create, early releases, monster stats, house rules, and anything else I cook up in my spare time and release there. I'm also working on a rules-light tabletop role-playing system called Divergent Core, and if I'm ever able to finish it, big if, I plan on making it available to my patrons who can test it out before the official release. With that out of the way, let's get into the main topic of this video. Alright, moving forward, I wanted to share my personal Twitter story. Sometime in the dark and distant past, I made a tweet about one of my games, and someone came in very mad. Something extremely unusual for Twitter, I know. That bastion of kindness and understanding. Okay, enough of that. Anyway, they showed up in my mentions and informed me that I was being selfish because I thought that I might do away with dark vision in any games I run in the future. Not the games already in motion, mind you, but just future games where I want to amp up the tension. But that's a topic for another video. So yeah, they told me that I wasn't a player, but rather a facilitator, and that by possibly doing away with dark vision in my games, I was being a selfish prick. And that made me a little angry. It probably shouldn't have, but it did. At my actual job, I'm called a facilitator when or if I run a workshop or meeting or something. It certainly isn't something I do for fun or personal enjoyment. I don't play games to do more work, but because it's fun. And even though several of the people who play in my games came to tell them that they were wrong, they wouldn't accept it. Even when presented with a picture of what the second edition of Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook had to say about the subject, quote, "After all, even an ogre might think twice about attacking two people carrying sharp swords and stout shields. Finally, let's put the board somewhere you can see it. Let's give it to one of the other players and make that player the referee." End quote. And I could have used several other sources, such as Pathfinder's First Edition, which spells it out nicely by saying, quote, "Player, just because he's playing dozens of characters during the course of a session, doesn't make him any less a player than the others who sit at the table." End quote. And that's exactly right in my opinion. No one argues that a pitcher or a goalie is not a player because their role happens to be different than a right fielder or forward. We're all sitting at that table to have fun. I wouldn't spend hours of my day thinking about and creating worlds, scenarios, NPCs, and dungeons for my players to explore if I wasn't having fun doing it. I absolutely know that my role in the game is different than theirs might be, but I'm still a player, playing a game that I love. I'm still rolling dice. I'm still collaborating on the world and story we're building together. I'm still sharing that experience with the other players. And the attitude that your dungeon master is not a player but some sort of facilitator of your fun only is toxic. If adopted, it allows the other players to dismiss the DM's feelings about the game and whether or not they're having fun at the table. It reinforces the idea that they matter less than the other players because they're just there to facilitate their fun. And what the DM finds fun is secondary at best, and doesn't matter at worst. I think all players, DMs and the other players, should check in on each other frequently. Ask them if they're having fun. I know at the end of every session, I flat out thank them and say that I hoped everyone had fun. If they didn't or have some concern about the game, I hope that they'll tell me so that we can rectify the situation for the future. Bottom line is that everyone sitting at that table is playing a game. They're there as players. And if you treat your DM as if he or she is an object for facilitating your pleasure only, you'll not soon have a DM at all. Thank you for watching the video. Let me know down in the comments whether you agree or disagree with my take.